traded for a horse one time, wouldn't take no beauty prize. He's a long-eared blue roan gelding, not too bad for weight or size. I was making tough old circles, and that trader guaranteed that horse would show me lots of country and not need much rest nor feed. Now, he said he wasn't no kid's horse, but he'd pack me up the crick. It was rumored he might buck some, and he had been known to kick. So he couldn't just trade him just anybody without feeling some remorse, but if I was a sure enough cowpuncher, he'd be my kind of horse. So I mounts the roan next morning. He began to buck and bawl. That trader hadn't lied none, but he sure hadn't told it all, for we just tore up all the foliage where he made throwed his equine fit, and I was running out of handholds by the time he finally quit. And that day just seemed to cut the pattern. Nothing ever seemed to change. Though I showed him lots of country every corner of that range, every time I'd ride that booger, he'd keep me sitting tight, and I'd have to make at least 3 bronc rides before he packed me in that night, which would have been all right for a lot of ponies that I knowed. But that blue horse had my number, and I could barely get him rode. And the thing that was hurting and eating at my pride was he was learning how to buck hard faster, and I was learning how to ride. So I come in one evening, it was getting a little late, and I seen a strange gray horse in my corral and a saddle by the gate. I stopped and looked the gray horse over, and I sure liked what I seen. And then a kid come out my barn. His owner come out my barn, just a kid about 16. He said he'd lamed the gray that morning coming down off Granite Grade, and wondered if maybe I had a horse I'd want to trade. Said he didn't have time to stop and let the gray horse heal. Since beggars can't be choosers, he'd make most any kind of deal. So fellers, when man goes to trading horses, I suppose most anything is fair. So I trade the kid my blue roan for that gray horse then and there. But then my conscience got to hurting, thinking about what I did to trade that blue roan outlaw to this young and naive kid. So next morning after breakfast, I said, "Hey, listen, lad, tell you the truth, that trade we made last night was bad. That blue roan is a bad one, toughest one you'll ever see. He'll strike you, bite you, stampede. He's a sorry SOB. It's all I can do to ride him, and if I was to tell it to you straight, I think you'd be lucky just to ride him past that gate. Now, I got 2 or 3 old horses out there in the saddle bunch that ain't got much going for them, but I kind of got a hunch that get you where you're going if you just don't crowd them none. But I'd sure hate to see you try to ride that blue roan booger, son." He said, "Shucks, mister, I appreciate you telling me the bad mistake I made, but my old daddy told me when you're trading, even when you're leaving, even if you take a whooping, that a deal is still a deal. I know that trade we made was fair, and durned his blue roan hide when I'd pull out of here this morning, that's the horse I aim to ride." Well, so I watched him cinch his saddle, and he pulled his hat way down, stepped across his rigging like a gent that's bound for town, stuck both spurs up in his shoulder, got that blue roan's hair a-flying, tipped his head straight back and screamed like he's a hungry mountain lion. Now, folks, I've heard of bucking horse ballets or poetry in motion, but the ride I saw that day plumb defies description. Like I saw it in slow motion and got branded on my brain. Now, that kid stayed plumb relaxed, like he's lying home in bed. Every jump that blue roan made, that kid was half a jump ahead. When it was over, I said, "General, there's some things I can learn still. I apologize, kid, I misjudged your riding skill." He said, "Shucks, that's all right, mister," as he headed on his way. He said, "You think this horse bucks hard? I wouldn't put my saddle on that gray." Hope you guys enjoyed it.